Ready?
Just wait for a second, sir. Just
okay, fine.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Now we can start.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Respected Professor K. Tankeshwarji, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh, our Chief Guest of the day, Professor P.K. Ahluwalia ji, former Professor of Physics, Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla, our eminent speaker of the fifth lecture of the series, Professor Kedar Singh ji, Dean School of Physical Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, all my other colleagues from JNU and IAPT, all the attendees and dear participants. Good morning to all of you. Today, we are present here to have the fifth lecture of online lecture series on National Education Policy 2020, Implementation Challenges and Path Ahead. It is being organized by School of Physical Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and Indian Association of Physics Teachers. Education is fundamental for achieving all full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, and promoting national development. National Education Policy 2020 re-establishes teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential member of our society because they truly shape our next generation of the citizen. Keeping in mind the importance of national education policy in our education system, we are taking some particular aspect of national education policy in this lecture series. For the information of our chief guest and eminent speaker, we have already organized 4 lectures of the series during the last 4 Saturday, and till date we have covered the topic on NEP like NEP 2020 as it stands today. Will NEP 2020 make science learning a real exploration? Role of teachers in implementation of NEP for higher education. NEP 2020, a game changer in online learning. Today also we are fortunate to listen on very interesting topic, which is, will NEP 2020 make choice-based credit system a reality across India? And the main speaker for the today's lecture series is well known to all our IAPT members, our IAPT President, Professor P.K. Ahluwalia ji, who was also the former Professor of Physics at HP University, Shimla. And as a chief guest, we have today Professor K. Tankeshwarji, Vice Chancellor, Central University, Haryana, who will give his presidential remark on today's lecture on NEP. So starting today's event, I invite Professor Kedar Singh ji, Dean SPS JNU, for his welcome address and telling us about the purpose of the lecture series. Professor Kedar Singh ji.
Okay, thank you, Manish. Good morning to all. On the behalf of School of Physical Sciences and I welcome to all in 5th lecture series on National Education Policy 2020, implementation, challenges, and path ahead. As Professor Manish told, this lecture series is jointly organizing Indian Association of Physics Teachers and School of Physical Sciences, JNU. I welcome our today chief guest, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh. Welcome, sir. You give us this important time in your busy schedule. Welcome you, sir, again. I also grateful to today's speaker. This is a very known speaker, Professor P.K. Ahluwalia, former Professor of Physics, HP University, Shimla, and as you know, he is the President of IAPT. Today, his lectures is on, this is the Will NEP 2020 make choice-based credit system a reality across the country? Because here, if you see for cross-based, how we can change the, the credit for the 1:2 other, this is a very issue in this is our NEP. So then today Professor Ahluwalia will be clear the doubts. I also welcome organized team members doing hard work to arrange it properly. Finally, I welcome my colleague, student, and participants joining this lecture series regularly, and I hope this fruitful discussion will help to implement the NEP 2020. Welcome you again. Yeah, Manish, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Kedar Singh ji.
Okay.
Fine. Okay. Thank you, Professor Kedar Singh ji, for your welcome address. Now I invite Dr. Seema Vats ji, President IAPT of RC1, Delhi and Haryana, for introducing our chief guest of the day. Dr. Seema, please.
Thank you, Manish. Good morning to all. I take this opportunity to express our profuse gratitude and heartfelt thanks to our Honorable Professor Tankeshwar Kumar sir, and to be for chief guest for today's event. And it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him for this event. Professor Tankeshwar Kumar is a Vice Chancellor of Central University of Haryana, Mahendragarh. Earlier, he has been Vice Chancellor of Guru Jambeshwar University of Science and Technology, Hisar, for about 5 years and 9 months. Prior to joining as a Vice Chancellor, he has been serving as a UGC Professor of Physics and Director of Abdul Kalam Computer Center at Punjab University, Chandigarh. He has been Vice Chancellor, Additional Charge of Deen Bandhu Chotu Ram University of Science and Technology, Murthal, and Chaudhary Bansi Lal University, Bhiwani. Professor Tankeshwar has 36 years of experience, which includes teaching, research, and educational administration. He has contributed more than 165 research papers in journals of international and national repute, with more than 1,400 citations, international citations. His H index is 22 and his I-10 index is 40. His research area is theoretical and computational, condensed matter physics, and nanotechnology. He is the first UGC professor in India in FRP. He has guided 13 students for their PhD degree. He is a fellow of International Academy of Physical Sciences and member of National Academy of Sciences, F. Allahabad. He is in the editorial board member of International Journal World Condensed Matter Physics. He has been Dean, PTU, Jalandhar, Reader, Lecturer at Punjab University, Chandigarh. He started his career as a lecturer from Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla. And prior to this, he has been postdoctoral fellow, ICTP, Italy. He obtained MSc and PhD in physics from Punjab University, Chandigarh, and he was born in district Yamunanagar, from where he has done his graduation. He has been member of Senate and Syndicate of Punjab University. He has been a member of various committees at state and national level, like UGC Examination Reform Committee, Chairman Committee to establish First Skill University of Haryana, Planning Board via
I think some connection has been broken.
Yeah, so we can wait for a minute.
Yeah, I think.
Sir, I think you can start, please. I'm sorry
Yeah,
for this.
you can start, yeah, because
Yeah, right.
it's enough. Yeah. So
Okay.
thank you, Manish. Yeah, it is wonderful to be part of this event, which is, you are organizing, and for I think this is the 5th in the series, And this is being organized by, on the platform of IAPT. So I am really thankful to you for inviting me to be the part of this event, and especially when, today our, I'll say colleague, our mentor, Professor P.K. Ahluwalia ji is speaking on the topic. And obviously the main thrust is how to implement this NEP 2020 and what are the challenges and how to go about it. And so really, if you look at the NEP 2020, it is a very open kind of thing. It is about 60 or 70 pages, 69 or 70 pages book, I will say. But if you look at the how to implement it, and people have made the recommendations which are running into many hundred of pages, right? So that is the thing. So I see that how to implement this should be, I think, left to the academicians. It has the flexibility, it has the freedom, it has the wisdom inbuilt. And as you see that, if we put on more and more instructions that this is to be done, this is to be done, this is to be done, then it will lose the meaning. So this implementation is a very challenging, and everybody tries to give its own, kind of thing that this is the way it should be done, this is the way it should be done. But this is a country where we cannot leave the things to the people, because where we are at a different stages in a different way. So if we are able to discuss such issues in public, just like you are organizing these events, for 5-6 lectures you have organized. So I think it is a way that the people should understand it, right? People should understand it, because understanding this policy is more important than the implementation. Because if we understand it well, only then we will implement it well. So you have organized a few lectures on this, and today, as you see, that it's a very important way that we are saying the will NEP 2020 make CBCS system a reality. This itself is the main crux of the, I will say, of the education policy. Where we say that from the 6th onward, the students will be having the vocational courses, and if you go to the 10th, 11th, and 12th, then they will not be differentiated between a commerce or medical or non-medical, right? So when we have a students coming from the school, with some courses like from the commerce, and maybe some with maybe physics and mathematics, how to really make them such things available in the university level or the college level. Can you think of anybody teaching, anybody coming to the college or the university without having, let's say, mathematics, but he has studied the physics, or maybe he has studied a computer and then maybe the commerce, right? Such a thing will be there maybe after maybe 10 years, or maybe never know how much time it takes. So if that is the situation, then the higher education institutions, like the colleges or the the university, should have the option that the student can opt for this course, that course, that course. Then we will have the degrees like graduation or the post graduations. The choice of the subject will be left to the students. He choose. He can choose. And I remember that in foreign countries, the different courses have the different fees. So if your fee is decided by the kind of the subject you choose, the course you choose, right? So, so that is, I see there is a future, and the people will be having the different courses running into the subjects, and I really see that how can we have higher education institution. Universities can manage it, but we can start all the undergraduate courses, right? Every university should have a 5-year integrated course, and they cannot think of the post-graduation degree without having an undergraduate in the university. So that is what I see the national education policy going to bring the change, and where the students coming from the school will be opt for the psychology, economics, and maybe physics, right? So that is the way the things will be changing, and that is I think the today's topic is that will NEP 2020 make CBCS? So I consider the NEP 2020 is beyond the CBCS. It is beyond CBCS. It is CBCS system. Even today we have it, but we are not able to really implement it. What we do is we give a kind of general elective courses. That is what happening in the even the top universities of the country. The CBCS was not implemented in the true sense. So at least if we have the NEP 2020, then we have at least CBCS in the true sense. So because the students will not be having not read the options already, because the school education will change, and once we have the vocational courses from the 6th onward, then the university should also have the vocational courses, and that is also a part of the NEP. That's why we are saying that universities should be the multidisciplinary. The multidisciplinary is because if we say we have a students with coming from the school with the different subjects, and the university is not having, so that how is possible then? How the students will be able to go for the higher education? And at the one side we are seeing that we have to make the 50% of the GER, right? So it's very important to have every university to become multidisciplinary, as well as provide the education to the schools होंगे बच्चे, उनको you have to provide the education in the different I will say the courses where he can choose different streams from the different streams. So that is I see is what I look at is this national education policy going to bring the change, and you have chosen really wonderful topic today, Professor P.K. Ahluwalia ji. I am really thankful to be a part of your program, when especially you are going to talk on this issue. And I am thankful to our Dean of School of Physical Sciences, Professor Kedar Singh ji, and obviously Manish Kumar Kashyap ji, and Ram Prasad Prajapati ji, was those who are participating in this event, and I really feel proud to be part of this event, and thank all of you for organizing this wonderful event. And we would like to listen to Professor P.K. Ahluwalia ji. I have expressed my interview that NEP, if implemented in a true sense, it should go beyond the CBCS. So I will say that way, because the CBCS at the present is just giving some elective courses, but it is not in the true sense. So it will obviously, it should go beyond that CBCS. That means at least it should bring reality to the CBCS. So with these words, I once again thank and congratulate you for organizing this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tankeshwar sir, for supporting us and for your presidential remark. Yes, you're right. Implementation of NEP is a big challenge, and the opportunity to implement it should be given mainly to the academician. People should understand it, and only then it can be implemented properly. There is a complete flexibility in NEP for the student to select subject of his choice, and university can manage it easily. NEP 2020 is definitely beyond CBCS according to you, and today also we are having CBCS, but CBCS has not been implemented in true sense. Only for the option, as an option we can have CBCS, but with the NEP, CBCS can be implemented in the true sense. University should be multidisciplinary for NEP to be a big success and to provide education to the student with variety of the courses. So thank you, sir, for your remarks. So let's proceed further. So now I invite Dr. Yogesh Kumar to introduce the main speaker of today's lecture series. Dr. Yogesh Kumar, please.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you, Manish, sir. And thank you, Professor Tankeshwar, sir, for your views on NEP 2020 and enlighten our audience. Today, I am privileged and honored to introduce Professor P.K. Ahluwalia. Professor Ahluwalia joined Himachal Pradesh University in 1987 and retired as a professor of physics in 2015. He was adjunct faculty at UGC Inter-University Accelerator Center, New Delhi since 2015 and IIIT Vadodara since July 2020. He was held many positions during his career, like coordinator UGC SAP Physics since July 2020. He has held many positions during his career, like coordinator UGC SAP Physics Department, HP University, chairperson and member Library Advisory Committee, Himachal Pradesh, Shimla, coordinator UGC Nodal Center for Computer Application in Physics, Mathematics and Commerce. He also worked as a member of various bodies. Currently, he is consultant IQAC, Behra University. His broad research area are condensed matter physics and physics education research. He has published more than 120 articles in high impact factor peer-reviewed journal, more than 2,472 research citation in international journal having H-index 23, I-10 index 47. He has guided 18 PhD students and 34 MPhil dissertation and published 3 books on computational physics and related areas, also edited 2 publications. He has created research and other facilities for upbringing of students and teachers, like Nodal Center for Computer Application, high performance computing facility of 128 cores for electronic structure calculation using density function theory, upgraded research and teaching facilities under FIST and UGC SAP. Also introduced computational physics as a subject in UG and PG courses. He has earned many feathers in his cap, like received Best Teacher and Academic Administrator Award by Himachal Pradesh University for the year 2012. Commonwealth Academic Fellowship at University of Edinburgh, UK for the year 1997 to 1998. An Environment Leadership Award in 2017. Also, Professor Ahluwalia has taken several initiatives at the campus, but I'm mentioning few of them, like University Institute of Information Technology and remained its director from 2000 to 2008. Implemented campus-wide optical fiber network in Himachal Pradesh University campus. As a part of FIST, established high-performance computing laboratory for research in condensed matter physics. He also did database design for computerization of Himachal Pradesh University Examination Wing as a live project with BTech students. As a director, IQAC, he implemented SWOT on the campus, initiated biggest academic reform in the Himachal Pradesh University through CBCS under RUSA. Also, as a dean of university, he initiated and implemented many programs. Professor Ahluwalia is a member of many organizations, like executive member of Indian Physics Association, member Indian Science Congress Association, president Himachal Physical Society, general secretary Vigyan Bharati, and currently he is president of IAPT from 2022 to 24. He has organized 15 conferences in various areas of physics, IT, quality assurance, library science, and community service. Besides physics, Professor Ahluwalia is interested in science popularization, radio feature writing, development of spoken tutorial, community service editor, develop e-resources, sketching and drawing, and many more. This list is too long. So with this, I welcome you, sir, for today's lecture.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, especially because I find my very good friend and colleague, Professor Tankeshwarji, who is having a very interesting last 10 years as looking after some prestigious universities in Haryana. And now he is Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana at Mahendragarh. Sir, I personally welcome you to this particular program. And it is our great privilege that you are part of this, because we know that you are also one of the benefactors of Indian Association of Physics Teachers. And I can really look forward to you for many such debates and discussions and some initiatives which IAPT can undertake with eminent faces of the country like you. Dear viewers, let me tell you that Professor Tankeshwar, as he mentioned, also started his career of teaching in Himachal Pradesh University. So that was also a kind of a great opportunity for us. And later we worked on many problems together also. I had long interaction at Punjab University and then at Guru Jambheshwar University also with Professor Tankeshwar. I'm also thankful to Dean Science and Dean School of Physical Sciences, Professor Kedar. Sir, thank you very much for helping us. I also am grateful to Professor Manish Kashyap, who is really looking after the organization of this whole program, along with a very dedicated team of what you can call IAPT, RC01, under the presidentship of Ma'am Seema Sharma, or Shima Vats also we call her, Poonam Jainji, Yogeshji, and all other members also. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion with you. I may sound a bit skeptical, but I think my skepticism has some basis. And that basis which is there is of the fact that this is a very, very important, what you can call landmark which is happening in the history of education in the country. I think if it will work, then it is going to really change the scenario of education in the country. I hope you are able to see my screen. Am I visible
Yes,
on the screen?
Perfectly, sir.
Okay, fine. So as the title itself tells us, that will NEP 2020 make choice-based credit system a reality across India? And under this, what I'll share with you is my own experience. If you allow me to use the phrase, devil lies in details. Documents we can read, very nice documents they are, but when we have to go into the field and implement those things, the real devils then start, cropping us. And they sometimes discourage us also. Sometimes they put before us challenges as well. And when I am saying challenges as well, I think that is how this whole implementation process of national education policy has to be taken. When we are talking about a reform which is going to change the way we look at education in the country at all levels, at school level, at undergraduate level, at postgraduate level, and for research activities also. So this is a very important notion which we have to really remember and keep in mind. Unless we have this in our head that we have to take up it as a challenge, I think we will not be able to proceed further. By the way, let me tell you that in Himachal Pradesh University, we started working on implementation of choice-based credit system right in 2011. Actually, I happened to be at that time having a very interesting position in the university of Dean Planning and Teachers Matters. And when I joined it, I realized that this is a very, very important position in the university from where we can, initiate reforms which are being suggested by UGC from time to time. And let me tell you, one of the first documents for choice-based credit system in UG and PG programs actually came in 2009. And when RUSA came, Rashtriya Uchchatar Shiksha Abhiyan, that document was taken verbatim as part of the RUSA under the heading examination reforms itself. And there was a rider on one thing also. We used to get, plant grants from UGC for 5 years. And it was written in one of the letters addressed to the Vice Chancellor that if you will not introduce this, then maybe your next plant grants will be stopped. So that was a kind of a very worrisome situation for us. And we had a new Vice Chancellor on the campus, Professor A.D.N. Vajpayee, a wonderful person, a great academician, and very bold to think in terms of introducing reforms. Maybe we'll have him in one of the programs later in some seminars. And we had a discussion, one-to-one discussion. He said that I want to change the scenario of education in the state of Himachal Pradesh. And I would like that we should act boldly and get into some kind of a action mode. And I was also given charge of Director Internal Quality Assurance Cell. And that's again a very interesting position, because IQAC, I think, and I believe that is what is my experience, is a place which can give you a kind of a brainstorming compartment that you can sit down there, come out with your ideas, discuss those threadbare, and come out with some kind of an action plan to not just quality assurance, but for quality enhancement itself. So this is what was the motivation with which we started. And if you look at the word pictogram here on the first screen, there are certain things which are very commonly talked about. One is student, assessment, evaluation, and learning. Try to see that out of these 5 words, learning has got a very background kind of a place, whereas assessment and evaluation is something on which most of the times we are actually struck. And when we are actually talking about examination system as such, in which we are looking for reforms, it doesn't really mean something about assessment or evaluation only. It is much more than that. And that is what we discovered. So under IQAC, we started, having some seminars in which we tried to understand, after all, what is this choice-based credit system? we were knowing that it is not something very new. It is being followed in our country also at very many places like IITs or maybe IIMs or some leading institutions of the country, which have, I would like to underline this, an autonomy to introduce such things, which are in no way linked with the threads of University Grants Commission or say regulatory bodies, and they have a kind of independent, thinking about how they want to go ahead with their delivery of the educational programs. And it has been working very nicely in Western countries also. You go to USA, you go to UK, you go to Australia, you will find this is the system which is in place there. And everybody, sings praises of this particular system. So we were also quite motivated that we should really think about it and talk about it so that we should be, bringing some kind of a reform. Again, let me tell you, by the way, that Himachal Pradesh University was one of the first universities in the countries in 70s where it tried to introduce semester system. In 1970s, I am talking about, imagine, almost 50 years back, we had a very visionary vice chancellor, founder vice chancellor of the university, Professor R.K. Singh. But he had to really leave the university because in the undergraduate colleges, there was a big strike. And as a result of that, this could not happen in the undergraduate system, though it was going on in the PG system. But if I have to tell you in one small word how it was running, I would say it was running like this, that we had divided our year into two parts. But those very essential elements which come as a result of credit system and choice-based systems, they were just absent. So in PG programs, it was running, and it was a kind of a division of a year into two parts itself. And this is how the situation actually was prevailing in our country. Now, when I look at it today, in 2022, under the light of National Education Policy 2020, I believe that it is going to be a game changer, provided it is implemented with sincerity and by taking all stakeholders into confidence. A very important thing is, we must not forget that in our country, we are operating in different types of systems. One is ISERs, central universities. Second is state universities, affiliating structure is there. Then we are coming to some private universities also now, which are doing very well. They have a lot of autonomy within the boundaries of the regulations of the University Grants Commission, but still they are bold enough, And they are also giving us some kind of a flexible curricular structure. And this is what is one of the cornerstones of National Education Policy 2020. It is talking about a very new architecture. And also, it has brought back, as Professor Tankeshwar also talked about, the idea of multidisciplinary universities with a lot of component for liberal education also. Now, in such a heterogeneous environment, governance is a big issue. Regulations are a big issue. And that is what one has to look at in details if we want to make this a success. So we have to be really very clear about it. Now, National Education Policy actually 2020 talks about that at present there are about 800 universities and 40,000 colleges. And they are saying that we need to reduce these to 15,000 higher educational institutions. When I am saying reduce to, it doesn't say that we have to close down certain institutions, but it is offering a new way to bring all the institutions under different umbrellas to shake hands with each other. I think that is what I have understood it. If you have any other way to look at it, I would be happy to really listen to that. For example, they are talking about, autonomy being given to the colleges. They are talking about cluster universities. They are also talking about those colleges which do not become part of affiliating system, becoming part of universities as what you call associate institutions. And I think that is how they are looking at it, that we can bring some kind of multidisciplinarity into the system, as well as maybe break the shackles of affiliating system itself. Because I think it is the affiliating system which really ties you down. It's like this, that 300 institutions want to run a race, and they have to run a race with one leg of each tied to other institutions' leg. And I think that's where we have to really look at it, that how we bring those kinds of reforms so that they have sufficient freedom to look at how they can really be innovative enough in creating their courses, creating their curricula, having those kinds of things which will actually make whole of the system choice-based. I think this slide, I would say, tells us the crux of the way it is going to get implemented. Fortunately, currently in our country, there is a consensus about the new education policy, but people are skeptical about that. This requires huge amount of investment in higher education, in school education, in research. From where will that money come? That is the moot point which people are actually talking about and are raising. And there is one thing more which I see is a positive sign, that slowly and steadily, University Grants Commission is moving towards some curricular frameworks, moving towards some position papers, so that those institutions who want to go ahead, they should have a scaffolding available to them. Now, this is a very important thing, that if you want to really construct a huge structure, if proper scaffolding is not there, you cannot really build that kind of a structure. So National Education Policy document of 64 pages is not enough. We are now moving ahead from there, and we are creating those kinds of documents. In particular, we are talking about school curriculum framework. Then we are talking of the higher education curriculum frameworks also. And they are available on the UGC website. When we started thinking about in 2011 and 12, dear friends, we had no such scaffolding available. We were having only a letter from the chairperson of the University Grants Commission that please introduce choice-based credit system. And sometimes when you are inexperienced, you go into those areas whose enormity actually you don't realize. And then you find yourself doing something which, when you look back, find that this was a big thing which you actually tried to do. So we had to really go ahead with a very important mission. And we also know that there were many recommendations which were coming. Recommendations of the National Knowledge Commission was also there, which was talking about, not this kind of a big structural reform, but it was talking about we should have frequent curricular revisions, introduction of course credit system, enhancing reliance on internal assessment, encouraging research, and reforming governance of institutions. If you read this, you will find this is what is the intention of National Education Policy 2020 also. And I think any good, thinking person will always look forward to these kinds of things, that they should be there. But how can they be there in place is a real challenge, once again, I am saying. And, you know, we were knowing already, and that is being talked in the national education policy also, that our present system is teacher-centric instead of being student-centric. And you saw in that pictogram also that student was in the background somewhere. Teacher never asks, why am I teaching this? What will students do after this exposure? Now, you know, hidden below this statement is the fact that what are the learning outcomes? So we were not really thinking in terms of those. If you go to a foreign university website and try to see, there you will always find that a teacher is floating a course, but he or she always talks about what will be the learning outcomes. So learning curriculum framework is also a very important, where we define all these things. So why I am teaching? What will student do after this kind of an exposure is again a very important part. Then bringing more activity. What are the kinds of activities students should be engaged to have learning opportunities? You know, this is very important. As a teacher, I think it is our duty not just to go and deliver a lecture, but to actually provide students some kind of learning opportunities. I'm very glad that we have passed through a very, very tough phase, which has made us learn very, very many things. You will say that why you are glad. I am glad because of one reason. And that reason is that it made us explore some other possibilities which have provided us a kind of a viewpoint how to really make students learn in a variety of ways, and they can be with you 24/7. If I am a student, I can go to my teacher, ask him that, can we have a meet? So it is like, you know, visiting teacher in his or her chamber and asking him whatever you want to ask. Those are the kinds of opportunities which are making me really optimistic about what is going to happen in new education policy. Though I am a skeptic to begin with, because the paraphernalia which are needed for that, we must really look into those also. So engaging the student through some learning opportunities is very, very important. Also, you know, there was a talk about that our current curricula lack context-based approach. We never really put, for example, if I'm teaching physics, and if I have really taught something like, say, Ohm's law, where do I put it in context? Do I really let people see that it is not a kind of a formula which I am teaching, but it is something which actually works in life? And that is the beauty of physics as a subject. Then there are, in fact, no opportunities for group work, individual work, data collection, field work, quizzes, class tests, community involvement. You know, we had one lecture before this lecture also. We had Professor B.D. Srivastava talking about the implementation part in Madhya Pradesh presently in new education policy. There, you know, what has happened, and that is where the role of the teachers also come into the whole picture. They are talking of, you know, creating a database of the kinds of projects which students can do and which should have some kind of a research element or the open-endedness in them. This is quite possible. Then, you know, we have a class of 200 students. We want to give quizzes. We want to give class tests. Traditionally, you know, in such an environment, giving a class test itself is very scary, because the teacher says, who is going to check those 200, you know, answer sheets of the class test? So what we are finding is that there are platforms available now where you can create a class test or a quiz with a rubric, and it can automate this process of evaluation also, with teacher overseeing everything happening around him. How can community involve? Lately, you know, a very interesting curricular framework for community, you know, engagement has been launched by the University Grants Commission. In the last 3 months, very many such documents have actually come. So these were all lacking. No interdisciplinary mobility was possible. Lack of multidisciplinarity, closed, isolated environment was there. If I am struck with sciences and I am struck with sciences, there was no opportunity to have my own choices. No opportunity to the learner to walk out and walk into earn a certification. No scope to introduce latest knowledge in the curriculum. Learning goals of the course and learning objectives of units and subunits never initiated. Today, in the field of physics, I can say there is a document available to us. Though their documents need to be once again very closely what you call scrutinized by subject bodies like Indian Association of Physics Teachers or Indian Association of Chemistry Teachers or Indian Association of Biology Teachers and so on. So that all those things which are hidden between the lines are taken care of. I would wish if we could go for some kind of survey of each and every syllabus of the paper which has been created under this scheme. And I think there are some resources which are available to us under which we can do such kinds of surveys and look at things very, very closely. There is a question of, this kind also when we talk about it, what is going to be the role of the universities or educational institutions when everything is coming from the top? I think it is our duty that something which is doled out from to us from top should not be accepted as it is. We must do a very closer scrutiny of that. I was seeing, for example, the curricular framework for physics itself, which has been developed and is available on the UGC's website. I was finding that in that there are no, linkages which have been created with the resources available on the internet itself. Can, as a subject body, we come forward and try to have a serious look at that and see that it is happening or not? Can we look at clarity coefficient of the syllabus as it is? Because, syllabus is something which is being seen by whom? It is being seen by the students, the teachers, the examiners, and it should not be like this that each one looks at it in a different fashion. We must have so much clarity that everyone finds that it means the same thing to us. And that is where defining learning goals and learning outcomes, not for the course itself or for the paper itself, but for units and subunits needs to be defined. And if we go into that kind of an exercise, I think we will be able to really do a great service to bringing what you call quality into the delivery system itself. That's a very, very important thing. And one of the very important components of that is choice-based credit system. And this is what I will discuss with you a bit at length. And one of the questions actually which comes in my mind is why a choice-based credit system and why we should really look at it. Before national education policy came, and before even RUSA, there were a number of reports which were coming. One report about which I am aware is the report which came in Times of India on challenges of higher education. And there they actually talked about what are the challenges of globalization. And once again, you will find that something which I was talking is being again emphasized, making the curriculum interdisciplinary. There was one very important element which was mentioned there, that all cutting edge developments in technologies occur at the interface of two or more disciplines. And if you look at, people who are working in some areas, I was seeing today in the IAPT group, we got one, post which was talking about econophysics. So can we really talk about it when we are talking about economy and we are talking about the effect of economy on the quality of a country? How learnings from physics, particularly statistical physics, can make things more fathomable so that we can understand what is happening in it. Another very important part which is there is that when we have interdisciplinary approach, this report said, it enables integration of concepts, theories, techniques, and perspectives from 2 or more disciplines to advance fundamental understanding or to solve problems whose solutions are beyond the scope of a single what you call subject. And that is, again, a very, very important part which we must really remember. Then allowing students to learn at their own pace, choose electives from a wide range of courses, undergo additional courses and acquire more than required number of credits. Now, if you look at the scaffolding which has been presented by the UGC, you will find that when they are talking about pass course or a BSc in physical sciences, for example, traditional BSc format, they are talking about 132 credits. And when they are talking about BSc with a major in a subject, they are talking about 148 credits. And also adopting an interdisciplinary approach in learning. Inter-college university transfer of credits. We are now talking about academic credit bank. I think this is the spirit behind that. Complete a part of the program in the parent institute and get enrolled in another institution for specialized courses. I'm talking of 2010. Dear viewers, this presentation is the one which I prepared right in the very beginning of launching of choice-based credit course in Himachal Pradesh University. And we were having, all these things which need introduction into our thinking, into our delivery system, into the mindset of our teachers and of our students, that this is what will be the kind of benefit which will be there. Enhance skill, employability by taking up project work, entrepreneurship and vocational training. Now look at how we are emphasizing on skilling in the national education policy. Carry on and transfer their credit. Make best use of the expertise of available faculty. Bridges the gap between professional and liberal education. Right from the very beginning, in engineering colleges, for example, 20% of the courses are for whom? These 20% of the courses are for liberal subjects, communication, economics, management, maybe history of science and technology, maybe science, technology, and society. These are the kinds of courses. But they never percolated down to the mainstream education, which was happening for about 75% of the students in the country. And that is where we have to really look at. And our hope is that if we do that, it will greatly improve the employability of students. It will promote students' mobility, both horizontal as well as vertical. I think all these elements have come into National Education Policy 2020. And then collaboration with industry and foreign partners to foster innovations possible. And this can go a long way in capacity building of the students also. We are now talking about innovation hubs in the campuses. Slowly and steadily they are coming up. We are talking of innovation through projects at the undergraduate level. We are talking about innovation in having students and exposure of doing research at the undergraduate level by introducing 4-year undergraduate courses also. So please remember that we have to really not treat this as a kind of a experimental education policy, that we are trying to do another experiment of education. I think enough experiments have been done. We have lot of data available today for introducing 4-year degree courses, which was a very good experiment, which was done at Delhi University. What were the pluses of that? What were the negatives of that? Can we take care of the negatives of that or not? We also have choice-based credit system, which has been introduced from time to time. What are the lessons which we need to really take out of that? Now, one of the first questions which we must understand is, what are the various elements of this choice-based credit system? And the first thing which looks at us is that what are the various components in it? One is semesterization. Even people try to talk about trimesterization. And at one point of time in the agricultural universities in our country, trimesterization system was there. And there was what they call a kind of a sandwich program was also there, in which students used to study for one semester in the institute, and for one semester they will go into the industry. That kind of a sandwich system was also there. Then choice-based system, or what we call cafeteria approach. This cafeteria as a term was coined in our context in the Knowledge Commission's report. And this was one of the ideas which was brought in by Professor Yashpal, who had a great vision of education via space application itself. And I think today when we are looking at it, we are finding how visionary were those people who really started talking about all these things, where they started a program which was called for University Grants Commission, a countrywide classroom. I hope some of you must be remembering that. Then understanding the real meaning of the credit system. What is the meaning of comprehensive continuous assessment part? And what is the meaning of grading? Now, all these 5 components are the essential elements of choice-based credit system. Now, what is the advantage of semesterization? It involves clear-cut identification of duration of teacher-learner engagement. And that is what quantifies the things also. I would like to underline this. Quantification, that's very important. It also identifies duration for conduct of assessment and term and examinations for evaluation, and certification by declaration of grades. And we know that, and that is a standard thing all over the world, that a semester must have a minimum of 90 teaching days. I would like to underline this also. 90 teaching days beyond your term and examination or midterm examinations. This is again a very, very important part. Now, if we look at a typical semester, and this is how we actually went to present all the things which we were having in our mind to our faculty also in the university, that what will happen in 1 to 8 weeks? What are those things which will be under CCA in it? Comprehensive continuous assessment. When we will go for vacations, when we will have time for extracurricular activities. Let me tell you, applying our mind to all these things is very crucial. Because, one of the biggest complaints which we were getting when we introduced this choice-based credit system was this, that, sir, students' extracurricular activities are not in synchronization with the way we have introduced the semester. They are not in tune with that. And it demanded right from the very beginning a thought process that how in our country, for example, various sports activities which happen and which are controlled, I think, by Association of Indian Universities, how we have to really synchronize our semesters with that also, though, so that students don't lose something when they have to really participate in those kinds of activities. So this is again a lesson which we learned when we went ahead with this. Then what will happen between 10 and 16 weeks? What will happen in 17 to 20 weeks? What will happen between 21 to 24 weeks? Now see, typically speaking, that when we are in 90 days mode, our semester ends over a period of 14 to 16 weeks. After that, from 17 to almost 26 weeks, students participate in term and examinations, followed by, say, 2 weeks vacation also. Now, why this vacation is there? Mind it, vacation is not a holiday. This is very important to appreciate and understand also. Vacation is when teachers are free from teaching work and they are not, engaged over a period of 2 months in evaluation or 3 months in evaluation itself, as is the case in affiliating system. They should be responsible for evaluation of the scripts of their own students. And after that, these weeks which are there as vacations should give them some kind of a respite from that very hectic work to think about some other things, preparation, thinking about writing some papers, maybe thinking about research also, and so on. So we have to really understand how a typical semester will look in whole of this scenario. If we don't understand it fully, we will be in trouble. Then, we also looked at levels of certifications. Today, new education policy and the position papers or the reports which are coming or the drafts which are coming, they are talking about it. What is the level of certification? What is the meaning of a certification course? What is the meaning of a short-term course? What is the meaning of a diploma course? What do we mean by undergraduate degree? Maximum duration for taking that degree. And we went in this particular table right up to research degree, that it is a 3.5 year course and how we are going to really implement it. Now, let us try to look at a typical week in a semester. Actually, this was also a very enlightening experience for us. And you will ask me how? And the answer to that was that we did a small survey in which we tried to look at what is the engagement of art students and of the science students in getting a degree called BA and BSc. And when we looked at that, we found that the engagement of an art students in the institution is in a week, which is made up of almost 36 hours, is for 15 hours only. And because we had not defined credits, this was going unnoticed. Whereas engagement of a science student was from 25 to 28 hours per week. Now, both are going to get the same degree. But if you look at the engagement of the student for learning, engagement of the teacher for delivering the content, they were different. What will students do when they are working only for 15 hours in rest of the time? I will leave it for your imagination only. I don't want to really comment on that. If you have any questions, I think we will have a discussion on that later. Now, we then decided that what are we going to do? Each level of certification has to be given duration, has a typical structure of courses of study with well-defined name, instruction hours per week, credits, marks, CCA, and term and examination as percentage of total marks oblique grades. So when we were talking about course components, we talked about lecture session, tutorial sessions, and practical sessions. And when we are actually talking about, we also looked at the idea of a tutorial. In engineering institutions particularly, in IITs or triple ITs or in IIMs, tutorial sessions form a very important part. But then to have all these things, you have to have some kind of a one-to-one interaction with the students. And that is why, if you talk in terms of IITs, or if you talk in terms of IIMs, or if you talk in terms of the global universities, you will find to engage with the students, there is a component of teaching assistants also which is provided. What do these teaching assistants do? They work under the teacher who is actually delivering the content. They design their tutorial sheets and they deliver it. And the students who are going to really do this, they will come prepared after attempting those tutorial sheets and discuss those with the teaching assistant who has been given enough background material to competently handle those tutorial sessions. Rather, in foreign universities, teaching assistants are also given a training that in what way they have to really conduct themselves. And there are so many things: participatory discussion, desk work, problem solving, a brief seminar on a topic, or any other such novel method. And these sheets are distributed in advance. Practical practice session consists of hands-on experience, laboratory experiments, field studies, case studies that equip students to acquire the much required skill component. Now, don't you think that a history student requires some kind of field studies? Maybe a physics student also requires to work with community as far as, say, his or her what you call energy needs are concerned. There are so many things which are happening around us. So we have to really look at that, and that is where the innovation part is going to come. And that is where I would say bodies like association of teachers can play a very, very crucial role. Now, when we were doing this exercise, many a times, we were being asked, what do you mean by a credit? A very simple translation of this, which people do, is that credit is nothing but number of hours per week, which we have to really take for a particular course. But please don't forget, credit has a connotation of achievement or earning. If somebody says that I have sent a credit of 100 rupees in your account, I know that that has come in my pocket. So what is a student earning? And to let student earn that, how much engagement of the teacher is there, that is the real meaning of this. So it is in terms of definitely instruction hours per week in the courses being studied. But for that, student, if he comes for 1 hour interaction, means that he or she has to work on that instruction which he has received when he goes away. And when teacher comes, he doesn't come and deliver in that 1 hour only, but he comes prepared to engage with the students. So there is some credit which we are giving to the student. We are giving some credit to the teacher in this learning process itself. What is the learning effort required by the teacher? What is the volume of content which has to be delivered in a given course of study? And what are going to be the weightages of these courses? Because when grade calculations are done, the credits sit there as weightages to calculate the grade point averages, etc., etc. So, as I told you, that these credits are measured in terms of quantification of student-teacher engagement in number of hours per week. And for tutorials and practical sessions, 2 hours session will be treated as just 1 credit per semester. And it's not that every course has to have lecture components only, or lecture plus tutorial plus practicals, all these 3 together. It's actually up to you how you decide it. And the best way to look at it will be if you have an autonomy to decide that, not that it is given to you from top. And these are possible, cases which you can have for a 4 credit course. And it is the wisdom of the Board of Studies who will come and choose the convenient credit pattern for every course. So when we are sitting down in designing the courses also, I think we must let people know that what does this mean and how it is going to operate, why this component is needed with this particular course which we are talking about. Now that must be really thought about. Then we know we have to translate things into marks and then into grades. So 1 credit will amount to how many marks? For example, we have a thumb rule that 1 credit is equal to 25 marks, 4 credits equal to 100 marks, 3 credits means 75 marks. And I think these 3 or 4 credits, how these are to be distributed between lectures, tutorials, and practical sessions, that can also be decided. A 2 credit practical paper will amount to, say, 50 marks. Now, there is also a component what we call non-credit courses like seminars, trainings, and group discussions, independent study, projects, thesis, presentation. And I think today's information technology helps us to bring peers into this system where we can get evaluation of our students done by the peers themselves with an overlook by the faculty involved. And participating in each one of these, which we are calling as non-credit courses, we have to satisfactorily complete it. And if it is done satisfactorily, we will give an S grade. And if it is not done, we can give a capital S grade. Now, then we drew this list. How many credits, short-term courses, certificate courses, diploma courses we are going to have, PG and master's courses, and so on. Now, when we look at a typical week in a semester, 0 level study will mean what? How many total hours per 6 days in a week, which are available for instruction? It is actually 1 hour per day. That means just 4 hours in a week, and that's it. For example, number of language courses which are run on the campuses, And we find that this is typically the structure. There was a time when every research student used to do some foreign language course also, because many journals used to come in foreign languages. So people used to go for German or French, and maybe this is needed when our students come from what you call multilingual environment. And we are talking of introducing mother languages also into it. At least 22 languages of our constitution must be included for what you call content delivery. Then we will find that there has to be a bridge where students can come and bridge the gap by, say, learning English itself, because communication is the essence of everything which is happening around. Similarly, first level study, 2 to 11 studies, and so on. So we define what are going to be the core courses, what are going to be the soft core, elite core. There are different terms which we actually give to all these. And we have elective courses also. How we are going to really define them, what will be there in these courses, all these things were actually defined. What are open electives? Even there is a component of self-study elective also in it, with an advisory support, either from a research student or from the teacher, or a group of students coming together for self-study and maybe writing a term paper or something like that. So you can also have self-study electives also. And this is where, you know, when we start talking with each other, we start having group discussions. When we go every week on the blackboard and talk about something, that is where the real learning actually takes place. It is not just by delivery of lectures. Support study supplements today are possible because I can create a classroom for this kind of a study group as a teacher, where I can post material. And I can say that, okay, you systematically try to study. There are some videos available there. I can get these kinds of courses or these kinds of manifestations from MOOCs also. National Education Policy talks a lot about that. When we were discussing it in 2011, we had no such, you know, things available to us to bank upon. But this was actually emerging, which I am trying to share with you. Audit course, auditing some courses. You know that if you go to edX, for example, they always ask you, do you want to register for this course or you only want to do audit? So audit means that you can participate, do the exercises, but you will not get a certificate. You will get certificate only if you register and earn credit. Then we have to think in terms of some minor projects, major projects. Now, try to imagine, when I am talking about, say, minor project of 6 to 8 credits, that means I am looking for an engagement of about 80 hours in doing that project. And Professor V.D. Srivastava actually talked about that experiment which they are doing. And in the beginning, what are the problems? How it is getting there when the number of students is very large. I was reading one very interesting, remark which was made by Richard Feynman in his very famous lectures on physics. There he says that the real learning happens when student-teacher interact with each other. But in today's world, he says that the number of students is so large that it is a challenge that we have to think of how we can bring that kind of an engagement. And I think IT tools are offering us those kinds of ways and means by which we can really still interact with our students. You know those, what you call the study boards in a course where you can paste something, you can interact with your peers. And if you have participated in any one of such courses on the internet, I have done 4 or 5 such courses. I was finding that I was learning more with my peers when I was asking questions. They were coming to my help more as compared to the instructor itself. So these platforms, if we really make part of the whole process, I think will make a big change. So when we are talking of 132 credits, when we are talking of 148 credits, this requires determining the amount of work to be completed or credit points to be earned by students. decision on the number of student faculty contact hours during a semester in different programs and levels, decision on time distribution on the classroom. Even I think one of the most important subjects here is the classroom size itself. Are we going to have a classroom size of 60 or are we going to have a classroom size of 120? What is our classroom size? I think we should really look at that. Somebody should talk also when going into the details. That is why I am saying the devil lies in where? Devil lies in the detailing. In details that is hidden. That is where we have to really look into how such curricular work distribution has to be here. So we had a complete template available to us. How we are going to name our courses, which course we will call as a certificate course, diploma course. And we will try to follow some draft regulations for UG and PG, which were not available. Now it has become available. We had to create our own draft regulations also for all this. Then we were supposed to really look at mark distribution and the calculations of the RAS score. A minor 1, minor 2, end semester, assignment, quiz, attendance. How much percentage each will have? And every teacher goes, because he is going to evaluate it, and that is why I am underlying autonomy is the most important part of it. He declares to the students that for the evaluation purpose, I will have this kind of a distribution for theory, and similarly for practicals, the raw scores which I will do. You know, we even talked of designing our attendance register also. I think this can be now a attendance register, which can be, say, some kind of an app with the teacher. And that we not only include the attendance, but we also have for every student 3 columns, CCA 1, CCA 2 for first 8 weeks and for second 8 weeks and so on. So different CCA considerations may be there for different programs which we are talking about. Then comes the grading part. And that is where we talk about converting raw score into 2 possibilities are there into absolute grades or not absolute grading, but relative grading. So absolute grading is very simple, you know, you try to decide about the ranges and you are able to give marks that this will be corresponding to say letter grades like this. So this table actually predicts for us that absolute marks this much will be in how many grade points. And this is how we gave the letter grades also. So this was actually circulated to all the faculty members, and we were supposed to proceed in that particular way. And then we had to calculate, you know, that grade this what you call semester grade point average by giving course credits to calculate all these things. Semester grade point average and points secured, all those things can be calculated. And a simple Excel sheet can be enough for doing these calculations itself. So when I'm talking about that Excel sheet, which is there with the student in which everything is there in terms of records, I think I can proceed further. Absolute grading is done by having grades on the basis of absolute marks, whereas relative grading is based on fitting the performance of the class to a defined statistical model. And normally, the model which we choose for relative grading is the law of normal distributions, that Gaussian curve, according to which in any unbiased sample of the population, distribution of marks will show a bell-shaped curve. And if you don't see that bell-shaped curve, then you will have to think that why this kind of a curve is not of the learners in the class based on his or her grades. So we calculate the mean, we calculate the standard deviation, and this is how relative grading actually appears between ranges. We do classification in terms of about the mean, the standard deviation which we actually try to choose. Now, I am coming to the implementation. How to go about the task of introducing CBCS? Are our preparations ready as far as guidelines are concerned? I think UGC has done sufficient work in this particular direction now. There was nothing available when we were actually doing CBCS. There was preparation of regulations and course structure for different levels by respective deans. Now, the third step was the most important step when we implemented it. It was formulation of subject-wise working groups to be constituted by the chairperson board of studies of different subjects. Now imagine we have 40 departments and we have in each department 40 courses which are to be designed for a 3-year course. So we have to have actually how many papers? You can imagine now 1,600 papers for which we have to conduct later examinations also, in which, you know, we are trying to introduce what you call choices also. We are saying physics wala can go and do economics also. So these were the things which we had to discuss. So we said we must really entrust this kind of a task to a working group. So initially we started with 10 teachers of each subject to form a working group. So we had around 400 people engaged in this particular one. And we said that you please work on this and come out with your draft, what you call syllabus. And then we said, for doing this, we will sensitize you. So we sensitized both working group members and board of studies members. Today, this is very easy. Even if you are remotely sitting, you can always come together in a meet and talk about all these things. Then drafting a list of courses and their classification by subject-wise working groups as per respective regulations. Now, once this syllabus was ready with the volume of content as per the credit requirements, along with the notes for the paper setter and indication to the student, we said we are not going to go to the board of studies directly. What we are going to do is, we are going to really take it to a workshop of at least 30 subject teachers. And we had given certain parameters which were to be kept in mind regarding that. For example, what is the status of current knowledge, national and international developments, relevance of new ideas, concept and knowledge to the concerned discipline, internet search engines, latest books, journals and open courseware available across the net, development of topical courses as per the requirements of employability of the learners, academic interests of the faculty and thirst of the program, and volume of the content as per credit. So this was given as a kind of a bullet points for those groups to work upon. Now, once it was done, we went to the working workshops where it was decided, are there any loopholes which need to be plugged? And they made some recommendations. Those recommendations were incorporated by that group, and then we brought that syllabus to the board of studies, where we had some external experts also, along with regulations, and finalize it there. So we defined, role of these working groups very, very clearly. And it was even thought that those tables which we had created for distribution of credits were strictly adhered to. And we were supposed to recommend various things about it. We gave a template for the design of syllabus also, header, etc., body of the syllabus, kaise honi chahiye, what are the books recommended. See, internet resources, journal resources in bibliographic format for books. It was not just a document prepared and the end of the story. No, much more than that. And again, for the lab courses, we did like this. So we started in the month of March. This is 2013. And we formed a Dean's Committee for drafting guidelines and regulations for CBCS. CBCS guideline presentation before Dean's Committee, before chairpersons. Principals conference also was done, in which we actually presented these. And systematically, we went till the introduction of this in the year 2013. And we made sure that before the semester started, everything should be there on the website of the university itself. And there were, some very important questions which people actually raised. Will CBCS offer a complete freedom to choose any course of study subject running in different departments of study in the higher education institution where he or she is studying, or higher education institution outside his institute? Answer to this question actually came only when we started introducing it, that it is not free for all. There has to be some restrictions. And that is exactly what Professor V.D. Srivastava was talking about. For example, if I am to take, say, physics as a major, I have a requirement of studying mathematics also. And it cannot be just mathematics corresponding to physics. An overall grounding of mathematics is also needed. So this was a very important part. What is it? There were certain questions about nomenclatures which were there being credit hota kya hai? How is course performance indicated? How is semester performance indicated? The CGPA, course credit, etc., etc. Will there be a need for teacher fellows, course assistants, and teaching assistants? And I feel if you want to make it a success, University Grants Commission should very, very closely, and Government of India should look at it very, very closely and handhold universities with these kinds of innovations. And not only that, this also opens up another opportunity for students. And what is that opportunity? Earning while learning. There are many students who would like to really do some work on the campus. So if they are engaged, and if due process of giving them opportunity is evolved, this can also be an opportunity to earn while you learn. What will be the role of ICT in new scenario? And I think in last 2 years, very many things have cleared up. Those choices which we were thinking are not possible in our environment, those will be available now through online courses. SWAYAM portal, for example. We also kept in mind what are the guidelines of various statutory bodies. Are we going to follow those or not? For example, University Institutes of Engineering, are they supposed to follow AICTE guidelines? Or law departments have to really adhere to the Bar Council's recommendations? Do they recommend choice-based credit system or not? If they're not, faculty was saying we don't require it. So this was a very, very important question. Now, let me tell you that this exercise did what for us? When the working group started meeting, I'll give you some examples for that. They started meeting and they started thinking of courses, because courses were not just like this, that we have to have, say, subject courses. But there were certain courses which were like skill courses. There were courses which were like computer skills, some courses, communication skills, some courses on hobbies, etc. And in each subject, we were discussing all these things. For example, in the physics, we thought of giving some such courses which were across disciplines. And we said, let us try to do this for science, technology, and society. Now, a very important question which was raised here, who is going to teach it in the colleges? Now, this is who is going to teach? Now, the question was any course which was devised by a particular board of studies, that always meant that indirectly there is some kind of a link of that particular subject with these kinds of ideas, and they will become responsible for teaching those courses. Then we were talking about hobby courses, for example, music appreciation. Or we were having a board of studies meeting, working group meeting for home sciences. And there we said that you please come up with some kind of a hobby courses which students should be able to have as a 1 credit course. So one of the participants in that workshop said, sir, I want to create a 1 credit course. And that will be running for 14 weeks for 1 hour. And my motivation in that is to teach my students to cook 14 recipes of nutritious food. I said, why do you think like that they require these kinds of recipes? And she said, sir, हमारे ना कई बच्चे जो हैं वो आते हैं और एक छोटा जैसा क्वार्टर लेकर के, क्वार्टर is 1/4 of a house, उसमें रहते हैं और वो भी 3-4 बच्चे रहते हैं, but they don't have time to cook proper food. I would like that I give them recipes of nutritious food which they can quick, faster eat, and should not feel as if they are not having a good diet during these studies. This was one modification. Then there was a course which was made on values. And where did it arise? It arose in the a group of philosophy, in which, what they did was they designed a course in which they had brought in the values from various, scriptures together, from Gita, from Guru Granth Sahib, from Quran, from Bible, and so on. It's a wonderful course which has been devised. And ICT scenario was very, very, very easy. Now, what were the other issues? हमने कहा कि ये अब इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं, हमारे यहाँ distance education learners are also there. How will they actually fit into this? How are we going to have them into whole of this scenario? And this was a challenge. One very important decision which was taken was in that context that एक बहुत बड़ा group of learners है which we call as private students who were used to come there. These army personals, girls particularly, they are the ones who actually come privately. We said we are not going to have no private kind of a study in which we will have no CCA, nothing of those things which we feel will enhance learning. तो हमने ना private वाली stream को खत्म किया. But when we went to discuss all these things with the Honorable Chief Minister of the state, he was already knowing this part that we have tinkered with it. He said, आप तो बच्चियों को पढ़ने के लिए रोक रहे हो, ये कैसे चलेगा? वो पढ़ लेती थी बेचारी अपने घरों में बैठकर. Now he was a very intelligent person, Veerbhadra, the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh. And we said, sir, हम चाहते हैं कि उनको भी quality education मिले. तो कहने लगे आप कैसे दोगे? हमने कहा हम उनको चाहते हैं वो हमारे distance education program का part बने. And if you say, what we can do is we can offer them substantial fee reduction in becoming part of that, and we will make sure that the lessons reach them in their homes itself. आज की डेट में आप देखिए, after these 2-3 years, we know that how this can be implemented without even printing lessons, because today the percolation of smartphones is to such an extent that people can reach out to these kinds of resources. Today, people are thinking of creating resources which are less data intensive, like instead of giving, say, something in the form of PDF files, can we give some audio files which are light and student can listen to them, not only on the smartphones, but also on ordinary phones. So this was a very important part which actually came into discussion. अब ये क्वेश्चन पैदा हुआ था, हम इसको कॉलेजेस में कैसे इंट्रोड्यूस करें? तो इसमें कॉलेजेस में जब इंट्रोड्यूस करना था तो टीचर अपनी कोर्स फाइल कैसे बनाए? We were never talking about such course files earlier. We started talking about these also. Timetable, learning goals, lecture-wise course plan, attendance record, tutorial sheets, quizzes, question papers of minor tests, end semester. Who is going to do evaluation? Our original regulations demanded that the evaluation will be done by the concerned teacher who is teaching this course only while sitting in the college itself, not in terms of this that the answer sheets will first go to the university and then will be sent to the teachers. No, because that is where you actually win the time. If you have to do over a capsule of, say, 14 weeks or 18 weeks something, you can't afford to follow those kinds of orthodox conduct procedures where you conduct examinations. And I think when we are talking of implementation of choice-based credit system into the field, which is basically the vehicle to carry these reforms into the field, we have to think of this kind of an autonomy, where everything is done in the college itself. And for that, I think sensitization of teachers is also needed, because over a period of time, we also, don't want to become, please excuse me and pardon me for using this term, accountable. So what can we do? Even there are other concepts also in which there can be an accountability partner with a teacher in the college itself. So every teacher has an accountability partner, not in terms of principal, but in terms of a colleague itself. Can we really think of that? This will be a big, big decision. So what we are doing is we are helping each other in becoming accountable to someone, so that everything follows a systematic thing. Another very important thing which is there is that if we really want to make it a success, then we must have a very robust ERP system right in the institution, where all these things get automated and teachers are not bothered by those things for which every time he has to think about how to do this, and he is or she is lost in the paperwork itself. This is also very, very important. Unless we do it, and maybe I would recommend one thing very strongly, that this kind of an initiative must be taken at the University Grants Commission level, at the level of the central government and at the level of the state government. They should provide that umbrella of internet facilities, internet softwares, via which this kind of a delivery becomes possible. And we will really take care of the time losses also in between by having that thing. You will be surprised that when we introduced it, in the next 3 months, we will have to ready ourselves with the conduct of examinations. I think we would have failed right in the first step if we had not gone for somebody who acted as a kind of a, what you call, a benefactor of our university, who created that kind of a thing. And there were many other, things happened. Suddenly we found that our process of filling in the forms, etc., have been computerized. So the element of introduction of information technology into our processes started as a result of this. So you can see now that what is happening, and maybe you will say that this is right. This is something great. Okay. There were other issues also. Ki syllabus bana diya. Would you like to draft model question papers also? And this is a huge task. Who is going to do this huge task? Either it should be done by the Board of Studies, or once again, we should go back to the working groups and ask them, you please draft question papers also corresponding to these syllabi. Writing of the learning goals of the course or learning objectives of each topic is what we are calling as curriculum frameworks. Can we really talk of blended learning that is key to take care of choices? Can we really talk to somebody? A student has a problem, he would like to talk to somebody. Are we having those kind of infrastructures? And I think in whole of this, autonomy is the key. And I would say we must do away with the affiliation system if we want to move forward. If we will try to have a mixed brew of such things, I think our road of very good intentions will lead us to hell, and we must really come out of it. I am using very strong words because I have seen that how implementation issues can really bog down all your effort. And that is a very sad story. One thing which is there is that even when somebody will try to bog down and will not appreciate the meaning of credits in whole of the scenario, they will do havoc to the system. Because they will say, we will keep credits, but maybe we will convert this semester into annual system. Imagine a load of, if I am talking of say 132 credits to have a BA degree, that means 44 credits which I am going to earn in 3 years. We divide them into 22 credits over a period of 6 semesters. Now that student will carry the burden of those credits for whole of the year. Now, this is something very tricky. Another thing, when it comes to making your date sheets also for the conduct of examination, with the choices introduced, the time which gets spread is over a period of 2 months. You lose the spirit of the semester system itself. Can you afford to do that? It's not possible. So there were, some immediate tasks. These I have actually already shared with you that how we did it. And then some final remarks, which I am actually talking about. So UGC was communicating, रूसा है, CBCS करो, आपको grants मिलेंगी. So it was linked with the grants itself. हमने उस direction में कदम बढ़ाए. And I believe that whatever we are talking, choice-based credit system is a mother of student-centric educational reforms. And in this way, we can provide with an academically rich, highly flexible learning system, blended with abundant provisions for skill practice and activity orientation that he or she should learn in depth without sacrificing his or her creativity. There is an argument which is given. What is the kind of argument which is given? किसी एक साल में पढ़ते हैं तो कुछ वो टिक के पढ़ लेते हैं तो उनकी जो है ना लर्निंग अच्छी हो जाती है. ये भी एक आर्गुमेंट है जो चलता है. तो 6 महीने में तो एकदम ही सब खत्म हो जाता है, बच्चा दूसरे सेमेस्टर के बारे में सोचने लग जाता है. But I think if you will think of those provisions, projects, engaging them in vacations, students going to learn something extra during those vacations through internet, you will find that things will change. You can even allow a student to have his or her own pace, learning slow, normal or accelerated plan. मैं जब 132 से 148 की बात कर रहा हूँ, तो 148 जो मेजर के साथ कर रहा है वो एक्सेलरेटेड प्लान में काम कर रहा है. और जब मैं कह रहा हूँ फर्स्ट ईयर के बाद, इफ यू वांट टू स्टॉप यू कैन स्टॉप, join in the second year, after second year you want to stop, join in the third year, and so on. So we have to bring those add-on facilities. I think IT is going to play a huge role in that. There is one very important benefit, and that his or her grades will be computed in a scientific way with a logical process of normalization. ये IITs में, IIMs में, बाहर की universities में बिल्कुल चलता है. Another thing is learning process is made continuous and engaging. Learner centric हो जा रहा है. It is designed to recognize the capability and talent of a student. And please believe me, CBCS, it's a process of not one way implementation. It is also a process of evolution of educational reforms. और आपको ना इसके साथ रुकना पड़ेगा. 10 साल, 5 साल आपको रुकना पड़ेगा. कुछ साइकिल्स में से गुजरना पड़ेगा. और अगर आप उस साइकिल में से नहीं गुजरेंगे, तो आप वो चीजें नहीं समझ पाएंगे जो हमको समझने की जरूरत है. And this is very, very crucial. अब एडमिट कैसे करेंगे हम? हर कॉलेज के पास अलग अलग पॉसिबिलिटीज हैं, फैसिलिटीज है नहीं है. तो हमने कहा था ये कॉलेज क्या करेगा, सबसे पहले फैकल्टी विल सिट डाउन and draft a timetable, what they can offer. Majors with minors, compulsory courses, general interest courses, all will be there on a table as a menu. And a student will be asked to choose from within this till we scale up the facilities in the educational institution, till we bring in handshaking of the institution with, say, internet resources. And there was a provision of 0th week to register his courses as per the availability of minor subjects, compulsory subjects, and so on. तो ये चीजें हमने ना 2013 में स्टार्ट करी, और ये हमारे पास एक typical look was there for the time. And you will ask me now a few other questions, but let me first, thank my group members. First, my thanks are due to R.G. Shandil ji, B.S. Mard, Ramesh Chand. These were the 3 very important people. I was the Dean Planning, and Rajesh Handalji was from Mathematics, Professor Mad was from Geography, and Professor Ramesh Chand was from Education Department. And these were the people, you know, who were instrumental in pushing us. कि चलो आप आगे बढ़ो, हम आपके साथ हैं. Professor A.D.N. Vajpayee, as I told you. Then there was Secretary Education in Himachal Pradesh, who was very keen. He was a product of IIT, and I think he is these days Secretary in Government of India in Delhi. And then Professor R.K. Vanchu from University Institute of Chemical Engineering and Technology from Punjab University. They have, because this is an engineering department, a very good experience of grading and all such possibilities. So we really took their help in arriving at the kind of model which we had. And then we also went through a lot of literature. कि हमको क्या करना है, UGC क्या बोल रही है, कैसे हम इसको करें. Distance education के regulations को हमने बहुत deeply study करने की कोशिश की to bring out a model. Please don't forget that we were working in isolation. और आज की डेट में देखिए गवर्नमेंट ने ये दो हमारे पास डॉक्यूमेंट्स बनाए हैं. Concept note on blended learning is available on the UGC website, and transformational reforms in higher education, again, a very good document which is available to us. Apart from what you call subject-based curriculum frameworks. Just I'll show you one such document which we prepared for our physics courses. Here, because most of the teachers who are coming are from physics only, I just want to show you that how we were, making our courses for this particular aspect. Let me just for a minute, please bear with me. Let me go to the home. अब देखिए ये हमारा वो स्ट्रक्चर बना. ये स्ट्रक्चर बिल्कुल आप देखोगे, और ये यूजीसी के रेगुलेशन से पहले वाली चीजें हैं सारी. कैसे हमने अपने मेजर कोर्सेज यहाँ पे डिफाइन करे, माइनर इलेक्टिव कैसे हम लाना चाहते थे, जैसे मैथमेटिक्स वाज नीडेड हियर, कौन कितने क्रेडिट का कोर्स होएगा हमारे पास. we had a complete scaffolding as a result of a very extensive exercise with our working groups. बहुत अच्छा काम किया था उन्होंने. And it was just remarkable. This is one of the fondest memories of my work in the university, because this was really reformational. अब देखिए हमने यहाँ पे ना इंडिकेशन दे रखी थी, Walter Lewin's video lectures, MIT open course wheels. So it was coming from all those people who were participating in that. अब देखिए हमारे पास ये एक कंप्यूटेशनल फिजिक्स का कोर्स हमने डिजाइन करा. ये वाला कोर्स है मैथमेटिकल फिजिक्स का, कंप्यूटर एप्लीकेशंस इन फिजिक्स का. और अगर आप इसको भी ध्यान से देखेंगे तो हमने इसमें वो कंपोनेंट्स जो हमें जरूरी हैं फॉर साइंटिफिक डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, फॉर साइंटिफिक प्रोग्रामिंग, वो हमने सब डाले हुए थे. लेटेक वाज देयर इन इट. विजुअलाइजेशन के लिए ग्नू प्लॉट वी हैड इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन इट. इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्प्रेडशीट का खास करके हमने इसमें ध्यान रखा हुआ कि लोगों के पास कुछ और नहीं होगा अवेलेबल, तो एटलीस्ट वो स्प्रेडशीट्स पे बैठ के तो कुछ काम कर सकते हैं. So later, when the regular courses of the UGC came, we were very happy to see one thing, that they had taken these computational courses in a modified format in those draft papers itself. क्योंकि ये हमारे इंटरनेट पे सब चीजें अवेलेबल थी. यही एक्सरसाइजेज जो हम लैब में हमको करवानी, we were talking about those. और जब हमने कंप्यूटेशनल फिजिक्स का कोर्स डिजाइन करा इसमें, तो हमने पीसी बेस्ड एक्सपेरिमेंट्स, बुक सजेस्टेड क्या क्या होंगी, वो सारी की सारी अगर आप वहां पे जाके चेक करेंगे ना, तो ये बुक सजेस्टेड का भी यही है, बिल्कुल यहीं से जैसे वो होता है ना, मैं बोलना नहीं चाहता वो वर्ड, वहां पे लगा हुआ. So this was a very important part, and I think we need to look at these documents now, which are coming up in the near future, and closely, try to look at those things. ये देखिए, this is the draft curriculum framework for 4-year undergraduate course. हमारी ये सब्जेक्ट बॉडीज जो हैं, इनको डिस्कस करने की जरूरत है, हमको ये डिस्कस करने की बहुत सख्त जरूरत है. If we will not do that, we will not be able to. आपको लगेगा जो मैं बातें कर रहा था वो सारी की सारी इसमें भी हैं. I am talking about experiential things which we had, and here they have given it a good, guidelines. हर जगह expected learning outcomes जो हैं वो भी बनाए हुए हैं इन्होंने, उसकी बात कर रहे हैं कि हमको कैसे कैसे उनको लाना है. और अगर हम इसको ध्यान में रख करके वर्कशॉप मोड में अगर हम काम करेंगे, I think we will have a great future ahead, and we will be able to make a mark in what we are calling as educational reforms. So I think with this, what I will do is, I will come back to you. Let me just stop sharing. Stop sharing. How do I do that? Yeah, it is. And I'm back with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the motivating lectures. And you mainly talked about the importance of CPCS in NEP. And you are right that 64 documents of NEP is not enough, and we have to think about the school education curriculum and higher education curriculum. You emphasize on what is lacking in the present system. We have the teacher-centric approach only, and the purpose of teachers should not only to deliver the lecture in the class. Along with it, students should be provided learning opportunity by him as well. The colleges must be developed to become autonomous colleges or university. And you gave the real meaning of credit. So credit is nothing only that the number of hours that we have to take per week, but it has an extended meaning. It is in fact achievement and earning of a student. You talked about the labeling of the course, distribution of the course, and management of the course of a program of study, and you emphasize on project work specifically. Project works or dissertation work is a special course which is involving the application of knowledge in solving, analyzing, exploring a real life situation or difficult problem. You told us about the Famian courts, that about this teacher-student interaction is must for effective teaching and learning. And this is exactly the true after implementation of NEP in the true sense. How to go about the implementation of NEP, you mentioned it, and you mentioned the important role of working group and board of studies in the implementation of NEP. You shared the template for designing of this syllabus of the course, a lab course, which you have made during the implementation of CBCS at your own university, HPU Shimla in 2013. You overall give the glimpse of NEP with a special emphasis on CBCS. You covered all about what, why, and how, and we are fortunate to listen to you. Thank you, sir, for your lecture. So
thank you.
And I have checked the chat box, so there is no question.
No, there is a question.
Okay, so I think it has come just now.
And even questions can be asked, by raising hand.
Okay, so okay, fine. Dr.
There is one very good question, which has actually been asked by Sir Bole. Okay, and he is asking this question. He is saying that the real problem comes from the state government, that they are not appointing teachers and they are not appointing the support staff also. Sir, this is where you have hit the nail. The reason is, once you go for this kind of a structure, you require teachers to teach. As I was telling about, teaching assistants should come into the picture to help, because our numbers are not going to come down. Our numbers are increasing. And when we are talking of 50% gross enrollment ratio, then you can imagine that how many numbers are going to be there in the infrastructure. How are we going to handle it? Without teachers, we cannot do that. Let me just may I request, ma'am? Okay.
Yes, sir.
What are we going to do with that? Actually, when we started it, तो हम क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट के साथ पूरा इंटरेक्ट कर रहे थे, so government was saying, don't worry, we will give you. Rather, Sanjay Murthy ji said, you tell us what should be the class size. We said 60. The moment we said 60, and when in the directorate they sat down and started doing calculation, that means you require a large number of teachers. But what happened was, as a result of this, a very large number of positions were created in Himachal Pradesh. In RUSA itself, there was a provision that they will provide faculty. But when it came to providing a faculty, that was completely overlooked. So now, when we are talking of national education policy, I hope somebody who is looking at it will come forward and make sure that human resource is needed even when you are talking of IT. IT doesn't mean that you can get rid of the human resource. Human resource is a very important component of that. If you have to really keep this kind of a structure becoming part of the educational scenario, human beings are needed. Without human beings, you cannot really run it. आपके पास आएंगे. मुझे पिछले 2 साल में बहुत मौका मिला है पढ़ाने का. And I know that how we can interact with our students. I can have a special meeting with them. And I also saw how teaching assistants are a great help to us also. That's a great thing. And we should not really forget that this is a kind of situation which we must think in terms of the human resource requirements. और अगर ये नहीं होएगा तो आप फिर क्या होएगा? मैंने वो पार्ट नहीं इसमें शेयर किया जो मैं आपको शेयर कर देता हूँ. वो पार्ट क्या था? वो पार्ट था कि हमने 5 साल ये सेमेस्टर सिस्टम और ये सारा कुछ चलाने की कोशिश की. Suddenly, there was some kind of a what you call agitation amongst students. And as a result of that, when our elections came in Himachal Pradesh, one of the parties meant it in the manifesto that we will remove RUSA and CBCS. And what was their prescription? They said, उनके prescription बड़ी simple होती है. Prescription ये थी कि हम आ जाते हैं और हम उस सारे प्रोग्राम में एक कमेटी बना देते हैं जो कमेटी लुक आफ्टर करेगी कि इसमें क्या कमी है. तो उस कमेटी ने क्या किया? रिकमेंडेशन कर दिया, सेमेस्टर सिस्टम खत्म. 5 wise men, sat down and they decided that semester system खत्म. हमारे 2000 लोगों ने जो ये काम किया हुआ था, एक दिन में 0 हो गया वो. और वो उनको ये मालूम नहीं था कि आप ये कह रहे हो क्रेडिट हम रखेंगे. अब आपने स्टूडेंट को सारा साल में 42 क्रेडिट होने का दंड दे दिया. मैं ये शब्द इस्तेमाल कर रहा हूँ. They didn't realize it. And now, when national education policy came, government of Himachal Pradesh was the first government to raise its hand. Yes, we will introduce national education policy. If you will introduce, the most important component is this CBCS itself. And that is why right in the beginning of my lecture, I said, devil lies in the details. How you are going to implement it is a key issue in terms of the resources which must be provided to implement it. And let me tell you, if we do it, it will create lot of employment also. उसको इंट्रोड्यूस करने के बाद 5 साल में हमारे यहाँ लगभग 700 पोजीशंस कॉलेज लेवल की टीचर्स की क्रिएट हुई, जो कभी हम सोचते भी नहीं थे कि होंगी. So I think that is the answer to Professor Bole's question. If there are still more questions, you are most welcome to come and ask. You can raise your hand, please. There is a provision for raising hand.
Sir, sir, I have raised hand.
Okay, all right.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I am Dr. Alka from Gargi College. Sir, it is always great to listen to your wise words, whether it is a computational physics or now I have listened to the NEP 2020 details about that. Sir, I just want to comment that regarding the flexibility of papers being given to the in the CBCS system, our Gargi College had offered a paper called Weather Forecasting to our students.
Yes.
And this paper was like only few colleges in DU are offering this paper. And I am glad to tell you this thing, that now our students are doing MSc in geophysics and geomagnetism after going through this paper of weather forecasting. And also we have introduced a paper on physics of the earth. And
Great.
believe me, sir, that in third year, they want to learn more about the interior of the core of the earth. Then of course, one section of the student wanted to have the advanced mathematical physics paper in their
Oh.
sixth semester. But many students wanted this also. Then we requested our principal ma'am if we can have a guest teacher who can teach the advanced mathematical physics to those few students we want, because the larger bulk wanted to know physics of the earth. So that time of flexibility was not was not possible, I think. So our students were taught physics of the earth. So they again were very happy. Now, year on year, the next students are opting these two papers. That means this message is going to the previous year students also, that this paper leads to them in new courses in their MScs, because this geomagnetism and geophysics is being offered by many universities in Delhi and abroad both. So I
Yes.
think this flexibility is a great thing. I appreciate of this NEP. And sir, I would because being a member, like I have given my name for NEP 2020 for course structuring in the physics department. So I would like to be interacted with you whenever I would like to, sir. I hope I can do that.
Thank you, Alka-ji. This is what makes our experience enriched. You know, that we are talking about such courses. And I remember my visit to your college. That
Yes,
was
sir.
great.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
we had wonderful interaction with the students also.
And still we are having that kind of quizzes in our college. And now yeah, yes, sir. Okay.
That's, in fact, I am trying to tell IAPT also that whenever you want to do something with the students, don't leave it with a lecture only. It
Yeah,
should
yeah,
always
yeah.
be followed by a quiz, so that you find that students are there and they are engaging with you also. So
Yes,
that
sir.
will be a great idea. Thank
Like
you,
some
ma'am.
of the platforms like Kahoot is the platform which we can use for holding the quizzes. Even
Yes,
our
yes.
curriculum, we can use that for practical. Like now our online practical tests are being done on the Kahoot only.
Oh, yes.
So like there and then the students are answering and their assessment is coming there and then only. So they come to know about themselves, that what was missing in their understanding. So I
Yes,
think,
yes.
so
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yes, any other person who would like to raise hand?
I think
Dr.
Dr. Shashibala is there.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, you can speak, Shashibala ma'am.
मेरी आवाज आ रही है डॉक्टर योगेश एंड हेलो?
Yes, ma'am, आ रही है आपकी आवाज।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
सभी ऑर्गेनाइजर्स को मेरा नमस्कार सर। सर मेरा जो क्वेश्चन आज ये है पूछना आपसे कि जो डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन की बात है उसमें क्या है कि उसमें जो स्टूडेंट्स एडमिशन लेते हैं सर
जी,
या तो उनको कहीं रेगुलर में एडमिशन नहीं मिला होता है, ऐसे स्टूडेंट होते हैं। हेलो?
यस यस मैम।
या कुछ ऐसे होते हैं जो अपनी फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स की वजह से वो रेगुलर में नहीं आते, दो दे आर वेरी इंटेलिजेंट।
यस मैम।
उनको जॉब करनी है या घर संभालना है
जी।
अब होता क्या है कि वो जब एडमिशन लेते हैं डिस्टेंस में तो मैंने ये देखा अपने सर्विस के टाइम की वो कितना भी अच्छा वहां लिख कर आए और उनको मार्क्स नहीं देते सर। और रेगुलर के स्टूडेंट चाहे वो पूरी साल क्लास में ना आए, उनको रेगुलर की डिग्री मिलती है और वो इस चीज का पूरी उम्र फायदा उठाते हैं, क्लास में वो नहीं आते हैं, चाहे रिकॉर्ड देख लिए जाए उनके जनरली। तो मेरा ये कहना है कि जो स्टूडेंट डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन में एडमिशन लेते हैं सर, इस डिस्क्रिपेंसी को जितनी जल्दी वो खत्म करा जाए, उनको सेकंड कैटेगरी का ना समझा जाए, क्योंकि उसमें दोनों तरह के स्टूडेंट हैं। और कुछ स्टूडेंट मान लीजिए सर 12वीं में अच्छा नहीं कर पाए, लेकिन उनमें पढ़ने की इच्छा होती है, वो बाद में मेहनत करते हैं और वो आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं, लेकिन ये रुकावट आती है या तो वहाँ इवैल्यूएशन का सिस्टम डिफरेंट है, जो बाइस्ड है, वो ये सोच के बैठेंगे इनको मार्क्स देने ही नहीं है। इस चीज पे सर ध्यान से काम किया जाए। वो जो डिस्टेंस में पढ़ रहे हैं उनको सेकंड कैटेगरी का कहीं से भी नहीं समझा जाए। अगर किसी स्टूडेंट ने लेट पढ़ना शुरू किया है और वो बाइस्ड बैठे हैं वहां पे, उसको मार्क्स ही नहीं देंगे तो आगे एमए में कहाँ से एडमिशन लेंगे, वो कैसे पीएचडी करेंगे सर वो। तो मेरी आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है सर, इस चीज पे गौर किया जाए। वो एक बहुत बड़ा पोर्शन है जो डिस्टेंस में पढ़ता है हर जगह से, उनको भी आगे बढ़ने का उतना ही मौका मिले सर जो रेगुलर स्टूडेंट्स को मिलता है। अच्छी मतलब ऑफर्स आए उनके पास। तो सर आप डिफरेंट प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे आपकी बात सुनी जाएगी सर, हमारी इतनी नहीं सुनी जाएगी। हम तो यही रिक्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं आपसे सर।
नहीं मैम, आपकी आवाज भी सुनी जाएगी, ऐसा नहीं है। बट मैं एक
नहीं
बात
सर,
आपको,
ये आप खुद जज कर लीजिए। डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन में स्टूडेंट्स को दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी का ही देख लो सर, आप क्यों नहीं मार्क्स मिलते सर।
मैं
मेरी
आपको
जानकारी में बहुत अच्छे स्टूडेंट हैं।
एक बड़ी
और
इंटरेस्टिंग चीज,
रेगुलर वाले पूरे साल नहीं आते क्लास में सर, और वो रेगुलर डिग्री का पूरी उम्र फायदा उठाते हैं कि ये इस कॉलेज से आया। उनसे पूछो कितनी क्लास अटेंड करी थी वहां पर, उसका रिकॉर्ड दिखाओ उनको। कॉलेज वालों से रिकॉर्ड मांगा जाए कि इस बच्चे ने कितनी क्लास रेगुलर अटेंड करी थी। रेगुलर की डिग्री मिल गई, पूरी उम्र फायदा उठाया। और वो डिस्टेंस वाले बेचारे गरीब या कोई मजबूरी में आ गए अपने घर की में, वो कितना भी अच्छा लिख के आ जाए सर, उनको आगे बढ़ने का बराबर मौका मिलना चाहिए सर। इस चीज पे ध्यान, उनको कैसे भी एग्जामिन करो, अदर देन यूनिवर्सिटी एग्जाम किसी और तरह से एग्जामिन करा जाए, कोई और टेस्ट लिए जाएं ताकि उनकी मेरिट उभर के आ सके सर।
मैम मैं एक रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहता हूँ। अभी तक क्या हो रहा है, ये प्रथा है सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज में, सिर्फ हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में ये प्रथा नहीं है। वो प्रथा है ये कि जो डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन के लर्नर को सर्टिफिकेट दिया जाता है यूनिवर्सिटी की तरफ से, उस पे लिखा जाता है कि ये डिस्टेंस एजुकेशन लर्नर रहा है। ये तो हटाना चाहिए। इसके ऊपर तो आवाज बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज में उठनी चाहिए कि इसको हटाओ। दूसरा, आज की डेट में अगर आप देखेंगे तो इंदिरा गांधी नेशनल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी ने ना बेंचमार्क्स एस्टेब्लिश करे हैं इन क्रिएटिंग क्वालिटी एजुकेशनल रिसोर्सेज एंड देयर डिलीवरी। तो जब इग्नू कुछ करती है तो उसका ऊपर भी काफी लोग ध्यान देते हैं कि ये इग्नू ने किया है तो इसमें कोई अच्छा ही किया होगा, उन्होंने खराब नहीं किया होगा। और इंटरनेशनली एक्नॉलेजमेंट भी है उस यूनिवर्सिटी की। तो इस बात को हम ध्यान में रख करके, मेरी कोशिश तो होती है, देखिए आज भी मैंने जब आपसे बात की है तो मैंने अपने अनुभव आपसे शेयर करे और मैंने ये बताने की कोशिश की है कि आप अपनी आंखें खोलिए। जब आपको इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की बात करनी पड़ेगी तो ये सब समस्याएं आने वाली हैं जिसके हम भुक्तभोगी हैं। और अगर आप इन पे ध्यान नहीं देंगे, बिकॉज हु आर देयर इन द बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज टू टेक डिसीजन, फ्रॉम अस ओनली, हम ही टीचर होते हैं वहाँ पे और कोई नहीं होता है। तो अगर हम ये नहीं सोचेंगे, नहीं करेंगे और हम पार्टिसिपेशन से दूर भागेंगे तो नहीं चलेगा। आप इमेजिन कीजिए जब ये हमने इंट्रोड्यूस किया होगा तो, क्योंकि मैं इसमें एक सूत्रधार की तरह काम कर रहा था, जब भी सब कभी प्रॉब्लम आती थी तो सब मेरे पास जो थे बोल देते थे कि ये इसके पास जाओ। मैंने अपना टेलीफोन नहीं बंद किया इतने दिनों में। क्यों नहीं बंद किया? ताकि लोगों के पास मैं पहुंच सकूं। इवन जब हमने कंप्यूटराइजेशन ऑफ एग्जामिनेशन फॉर्म करा तब भी लोगों को शंकाएं थी, पर वो एक इनिशियल स्टेप लेने के बाद जब हमने बैंक में उनसे फीस मांगी, यूनिवर्सिटी को ये नहीं पता लगता था कि हमारे पास एग्जामिनेशन की कितनी फीस आई। मुझे घंटे घंटे के बाद पता लग रहा था कि कितनी फीस आ गई हमारे पास हमारे बैंक अकाउंट में। तो ये सारी चीज़ों को हमें ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा और ये रिफॉर्म्स आने के लिए ना हमको एक थोड़ी सी पेशेंस से भी काम लेना पड़ेगा और दूरदृष्टि से भी काम लेना पड़ेगा। हम कब तक इन चीज़ों से भागते रहेंगे? हम नहीं भाग सकते, हमको आना पड़ेगा अपनी चीज़ों को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए। अगर हम नहीं आएंगे तो चीज़ें आगे नहीं बढ़ेंगी। थैंक यू मैम।
सर एक क्वेश्चन और है, एक बात और है।
हाँ जी।
दूसरी बात ये कि जैसे हम लैब में एक्सपेरिमेंट कराते हैं सर, जैसे फिजिक्स का ही करा रहे हैं फर्स्ट ईयर में, सेकंड ईयर, थर्ड ईयर में, जो डे टू डे हम एक्सपेरिमेंट कराते हैं सर, उसमें क्या होता है कि एक्सपेरिमेंट कई बार तो एकदम हो जाता है, कई बार नहीं आता, 15-15 दिन भी नहीं हो पाता है। तो टीचर का डेफिनेटली उसमें टाइम लगता है सर, जब तक रिजल्ट एक्यूरेट ना आ जाए। तो अब इसमें हमें ये देखना है कि ऐसा कोई वहां पर, ये तो टीचर की मर्जी के ऊपर है कि वो कितनी एक्यूरेसी से वो एक्सपेरिमेंट स्टूडेंट को करवाने में इंटरेस्टेड है। अब क्योंकि प्रमोशन में ऐसा हो गया है कि सारा वेटेज सर रिसर्च पॉइंट्स को दिया जा रहा है, और वो जो टीचर वहां रोज मेहनत कर रहे हैं 100 स्टूडेंट के साथ उनके एक्सपेरिमेंटल रिजल्ट्स ठीक लाने के लिए, वो जैसे 4 पीरियड की क्लास है वो 6 पीरियड भी बैठे हुए हैं या एक्स्ट्रा टाइम है, उसका कोई वो मतलब उसके लिए कोई पॉइंट नहीं है सिस्टम के पास। तो डेफिनेटली क्या होता है, कुछ टीचर्स तो अपने रिसर्च में वहाँ पॉइंट बनाते रहते हैं एंड दे गेट प्रमोशन, और जो टीचर वहाँ 100 स्टूडेंट्स के साथ मेहनत कर रहे हैं ना सर, जॉब तो सर बराबर कर रहे हैं ना सब, तो वो टीचर जो वहाँ 100 स्टूडेंट्स के संग रिजल्ट एक्यूरेट लाने में लगे हैं, उनको कोई प्रमोशन में कोई जगह नहीं है हमारे सिस्टम में। तो सर इस चीज पे भी मैं थोड़ा चाहती हूँ कि ये वहां पर स्टूडेंट्स को 20 एक्सपेरिमेंट करा रहे हैं, अगर किसी टीचर ने 20 एक्सपेरिमेंट बहुत ही मतलब आप समझिए कि डिटेल में जाके करवाए हैं, ये डिपेंड करता है उस टीचर के इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर, उसको भी तो सिस्टम को रिकॉग्नाइज करना चाहिए ना सर। उसने बेशक बड़ी रिसर्च नहीं करी, उसने बहुत बड़ी रिसर्च नहीं करी सर, लेकिन वो एक 100 स्टूडेंट्स की लाइफ बनाने में लगे हैं ना सर, उनके लिए तो वही इंपॉर्टेंट है स्टूडेंट्स के लिए। तो सिस्टम अगर इस चीज को रिकॉग्नाइज करे कहीं पर तो वो भी अच्छा होगा सर, स्टूडेंट्स के लिए भी और टीचर्स के लिए भी, दोनों के लिए अच्छा होगा सर।
ठीक है मैम, आई थिंक योर सजेशन इज वेरी गुड एंड वी शुड लुक इनटू इट।
सर ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है सर, रिसर्च तो जब ही होगी ना जब सर स्टूडेंट्स का बेस अच्छा बनेगा। मान लीजिए बस एक सेकंड लूंगी, किसी एरर आ रही किसी एक्सपेरिमेंट में 200% एंड टीचर से ओके आपको तो मेथड तो पता लग गया, एक रीडिंग ले लो और हो गया एक्सपेरिमेंट, और एक टीचर कह रहे हैं नहीं आपको एक्यूरेटली इस एरर को खत्म करना है बिल्कुल, तो ही विल डिवोट टाइम, ही और शी विल डिवोट टाइम, तो स्टूडेंट को भी समझ में आएगा ना सर सब्जेक्ट की क्या इंपॉर्टेंस है। तो इस वर्क को रिकॉग्नाइज करा जाए सर।
हाँ मैम, एक और इसमें सिर्फ छोटा सा रिमार्क है वो मेरा, कि कोशिश हमारी ये भी होनी चाहिए कि जब एरर आ रही है ना, तो एरर क्यों आ रही है इसके ऊपर ज्यादा विचार किया जाए।
यही मैं
क्योंकि
एरर के ऊपर विचार करें ना सर, क्योंकि मेडिकल में एरर के ऊपर विचार करते हैं ना, किसी का बीपी ज्यादा आ जाए या कम आ रहा है, वो गलत रीडिंग ले रहा है, तो एरर पे विचार होना कम हो गया सर। अब तो एक रीडिंग लो।
मैम हमें ना एक और काम करने की जरूरत है, हमारी फैकल्टी को वापस लैब्स में जाने की जरूरत है।
हाँ सर यही बात है,
और हम लैब में नहीं जा रहे हैं, उसके भी कई कारण हैं। हमने ये मान लिया हुआ है कि लैब तो स्टूडेंट अपने आप कर ही लेगा। आई थिंक वो एंगेजमेंट वापस लाने की जरूरत है
सर। दूसरा ये भी हो रहा है ना सर कि वो जो इम्पोर्टेंस है वो सिर्फ रिसर्च पॉइंट्स को दी जा रही है प्रमोशन में, दूसरी चीजों को नहीं दी जा रही है इम्पोर्टेंस। इन चीजों को इम्पोर्टेंस देनी बंद हो गई है सर। हमारे लिए दोनों चीज इम्पोर्टेंट है सर, वो भी और रिसर्च भी, बैलेंस होना चाहिए ना सर।
हाँ जी हाँ जी, एक और रिमार्क था मनीष जी, वो मैं पढ़ दूं जरा।
Yes sir please.
There is a remark by Professor Sunita Srivastava ji. She is saying there should be a provision to engage experts to be course teacher online for any specific paper to give more choices to students in a particular subject. Yes, I think we need to really bring it into our regulations also. ये हमें रिफॉर्म्स अपने रेगुलेशंस में करने की जरूरत है। अगर हम करेंगे तो ये तो बिल्कुल, हमने देखा है 2 साल में हमने एक्सपेरिमेंट अच्छी तरह से करके देखे। आप कहीं से किसी को ला सकते हो क्लासरूम में, आप उस एक्सपर्ट का जो स्क्रीन है वो बच्चों को दिखा सकते हो और उनका फायदा ले सकते हो।
सर एक पूरा का पूरा कोर्स, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल कई जगह मैंने देखा है कि एक्सपर्टाइज नहीं होती है वहां पे अवेलेबल फैकल्टी में, बट यू नो स्टूडेंट्स वांट टू डू एंड इवन यू वांट टू ऑफर दैट पर्टिकुलर कोर्स, पर वो एक्सपर्टाइज नहीं होती है फैकल्टी में, तो पूरा का पूरा कोर्स को हम करने की भी वो इजाजत होनी चाहिए।
बिल्कुल मैम, ये जो हमारा स्वयं वाला है ना कार्यक्रम, उसमें आप पूरे के पूरा कोर्स भी कर सकते हो, बल्कि हम उसमें है ये प्रोविजन एक्चुअली। और जैसे मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ ना कि कॉलेज के पास तो एक लिमिटेड टीचर्स हैं, वो सारी चॉइसेस नहीं दे सकता है, तो मेरे पास एक पोर्टफोलियो बना ऑफलाइन चॉइसेस का, तो एक पोर्टफोलियो बनता है ऑनलाइन चॉइसेस का। तो मैं चाहूँ अगर, तो अगर मेरे पास मान लीजिए 20 स्टूडेंट्स हो गए हैं, I think we should have a provision in the Swayam platform itself that we can ask them ki please bring this course for our students which are 30 in number. So I think they can bring also that kind of a course for your students especially.
हाँ सर, प्रैक्टिकली ना जब हम करने लगते हैं, I have tried before also, प्रैक्टिकली जब हम करने लगते हैं तो जो कई बार जो बड़े होते हैं एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में, आपका HOD हो गया या कोई और हो गया, तो वो ज्यादा इंकरेज नहीं करते इन चीजों को। बहुत ये प्रॉब्लम है। स्टूडेंट्स करना भी चाहते हैं तब भी नहीं, जैसे 2-4 स्टूडेंट्स तो होते ही हैं हर बैच में हु वांट्स टू डू समथिंग फ्रॉम मूक या कहीं और से, तो वो कुछ इम्प्लीमेंटेशन वाले पार्ट में कहीं स्पेसिफिकली कुछ डालना चाहिए कि
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ मैम, असल में ना उसके लिए ही हमें इम्प्लीमेंटेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से ही हमें इनोवेटिव होना पड़ेगा। अब जैसे प्रोफेसर टंकेश्वर इज सिटिंग हियर, आई थिंक व्हेन यू स्टार्ट ब्रिंगिंग ऑल दीज थिंग्स इन योर रिफॉर्म्स तो बात ही कुछ और हो जाएगी, चीजें कुछ और ही बन जाएंगी। तो उसके लिए हमें आगे आने की तो जरूरत है ही है।
इसके लिए हमने अभी इस पे काम भी चल रहा है, यूजीसी में भी चल रहा है, अभी कुछ दिन पहले न्यूज पढ़ी होगी आपने। तो उसमें ये है कि मैंने गाइडलाइन बनाई थी हरियाणा गवर्नमेंट के लिए भी, फॉर द पर्टिकुलर कोर्स देयर कुड बी द फ्लोटिंग फैकल्टी पॉइंट ऑफ फ्लोटिंग फैकल्टी। फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू से कंप्यूटेशनल फिजिक्स, कंप्यूटेशनल फिजिक्स का मैं 40 लेक्चर का 30 लेक्चर का कोर्स है, तो आप बना लीजिए और मेरे पास आप 10 दिन के लिए आइए, और जैसे ज्ञान के कोर्स चलते हैं 10 दिन में आप अपना कोर्स लगाइए और पैसे लीजिए और पूरा कोर्स अपना पढ़ा के चले जाइए। फिर आप कंप्यूटेशनल फिजिक्स आप जैसे मेरी यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ाए हैं, हो सकता है आपको बड़ौदा यूनिवर्सिटी में पढ़ानी पड़े, हो सकता है आपको हिमाचल में पढ़ानी पड़े, तो वहां आप 10 दिन में कोर्स पूरा पढ़ा के पढ़ा सकते हैं। तो एक फ्लोटिंग फैकल्टी विदाउट गिविंग एनी एम्प्लॉयमेंट, तो इस तरह का कोर्स चल सकता है। ज्ञान इज द राइट काइंड ऑफ एग्जांपल।
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, sir, let's go towards the end. So now I invite Dr. Ram Prasad Prajapati from School of Physical Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, to propose the vote of thanks for today's lecture. Dr. Ram, please.
Thank you, Professor Manish, for giving me this opportunity. So on behalf of School of Physical Sciences, Jawaharlal Nehru University, I am thankful to all of you for joining today's online lecture series on National Education Policy 2020 implementation challenges and path ahead. I am really thankful to Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Central University, Haryana, for giving his valuable time and giving the presidential remark on today's online lecture series. Sir, you have said really that this national education policy is something beyond in this CBCS implementation, and just this new education policy, I think it is a policy which will just bring our Indo-centric education knowledge system. And although we took a very long time, that is after 34 years, we are going to have a new education policy. So, but the framework which is presented in this new education policy, mainly it is dependent upon the course curriculum or design, and that can be implemented by the CBCS system. So, I am thankful from the core of my heart for your presidential remarks, sir. Then I am especially thankful to Professor P.K. Ahluwalia ji, former professor of physics, Himachal Pradesh University, Shimla, and president of Indian Association of Physics Teachers, for his detailed and elaborative talk about the implementation of the CBCS system. And he has shared so many experiences which he had in the Shimla University, that how this CBCS system was implemented there, and the course curriculum and framework was designed, what kind of problems faced, and how they're resolved by the academicians and administrative level. So I really hope that this CBCS system and the planning which is proposed by Professor Ahluwalia, it will be really helpful for implementation of this new education policy in central universities, state universities, and colleges. Yes, there are several problems which are highlighted by Professor Ahluwalia, and what sort of solutions we can have. So it really depends upon teachers and the students, because we are facing a new kind of problems we will face. So we have to adopt a new system. So it is completely depend upon the teachers and the students of that particular academic institution in order to implement this national education policy successfully. So thank you very much, sir. And I hope that the participants, they will be benefited, the teachers, students, and other academicians, and they will bring in mind the ideas which you have presented during your whole discussion. I'm especially thankful to the faculty members, academicians, and participants of this event who have really made this program successful. And with your feedback and suggestions, we can go ahead and we can really make it sense to implement this national education policy. And this will lead to a new future and Atmanirbhar Bharat for all of us. So I'm thankful to all of you. Especially I'm thankful to our Dean, Professor Kedar Singh, for his welcome address. And thanks to Professor Manish for organizing such a nice, wonderful online lecture series. And I hope that in coming weekends, we will be having some more lectures covering the various aspects like the research and innovation opportunities available in the national education policy, and the languages are the course contained in various regional languages, and how they will helpful for the higher education system like that. So thank you all once again, and I hope that we will meet in the next Saturday with some other eminent speakers. So thank you once again, Professor Tankeshwar sir and Professor Ahluwalia sir for joining today's program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. And thanks, Dr. Sab, Professor Tankeshwar. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ram, for your work.
It was an informative lecture.
Thank you, Poonamji.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everyone. So we will meet next Saturday again, 11 a.m. for the next lecture. So we will have a new speaker and again a new chief guest with us.